Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Mtga here, back with another deck tech video. This time it's again for the Commence the Endgame War of the Spark Chronicles 4 Counters event. So in this event, if you're not already aware, you effectively have an emblem on the battlefield that you start the game with, or at the beginning of your end step, if you have a creature with a +1/+1 counter, or a planeswalker with a loyalty counter, all of those creatures and planeswalkers get an additional counter, and if you don't get any free counters at end of turn, instead you amass one to give you something to start proliferating onto. So while we did have a look at a green-white list yesterday, what we're having a look at today is something a bit spicier that we've brewed up around this card, Simek Ascendancy. So the first line of text on this enchantment allows you to put a +1/+1 counter on creatures you control to start the proliferate chain going, but more importantly, it has two more abilities that tie it all together. So whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, you put that many growth counters on the Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if it's got 20 or more on it, you win the game. So a sweet way to break board stalls, seems kind of fun. I want to see if we can live the dream and ascend with the Simic. So what's the rest of the deck looking like? In the 1 mana slot we have 4 Chamber Sentry, 4 Ugin's Conjurant. Again, they can come down on 1 as a 1/1 that immediately gets a counter at end of turn. While you are missing out on an amass, it does mean that your 1-drop will typically outsize the opponent's zombie token for the rest of the game, which is quite important in developing into the later game. You might notice the omission of Pelt Collector from the 1 mana slot. The reason for this is when we have a look at our 2s, rather than having access to Huatli's Raptor, a lot of our 2-drops in the form of Merfolk Skydiver and Pollenbright Druid instead come in as 1/1 bodies that have an ability to then deploy a counter elsewhere. So Pelt Collector sees a 1/1 creature, it's not reliably starting to grow on turn 2 in this shell. Speaking of which, we've seen Pollenbright Druid before in this event, but Merfolk Skydiver's another way to deploy a +1/+1 counter, but this time it's a flying body, so you can start growing a flyer from turn 2 if you want to, pressure opposing planeswalkers, and it seems to be quite difficult to block flyers in this format profitably. For 5 mana as well, you just get a proliferate activation, something that could be useful if we end up with excess mana in the late game as well, and also power us towards a Simek Ascendancy finish, because we can proliferate the growth counters on the Ascendancy as well, so it's kind of doing double duty. Our last 2-drop, we've got 4 copies of Growth Chamber Guardian. We're going to need creatures to get counters to win the game via Ascendancy, and Growth Chamber Guardian builds you a small army. It's important to note that its ability doesn't trigger just when you adapt it, it's whenever it gets a counter from anywhere, so from a Pollenbright Druid, a Skydiver, Jiang, Yanggu, all of these are going to allow you to find another Growth Chamber Guardian to start going off with. Our 3 mana play is Yanggu. This card's just been absolutely absurd in the format. It enables some insane ramp starts. Each creature we control with a +1/+1 counter can tap for mana, and he deploys additional counters elsewhere as well. And you can't play a Simic deck with counter synergies for fun without Sharktocrab. So the classic 4/4 for 4 RNA draft staple. Whenever Sharktocrab gets a counter, it freezes an opposing creature, so it stops it untapping during its controller's next untap, and taps it immediately as well. Good for breaking board stalls, delaying your inevitable demise, and just trying to get across the finish line with Simek Ascendancy. Finally, at the top of our curve, 4 Biogenic Ooze. Absolutely absurd even on its own in this format. If you are playing this card, remember to set Arena to stack your triggers manually, because it likes to put the +1/+1 counters on Ooze below the proliferate on the stack, when really it should be the other way around, so you get 2 +1/+1 counters on each Ooze the turn this comes into play. And then finally, we just have Nissa Who Shakes the World, 3 copies in this version of the deck, or in this shell I suppose. She's still a very powerful planeswalker, ramps you, gives you mana to activate your Merfolk Skydivers, your Biogenic Oozes again and again, and it turns your lands into threats that then start proliferating onto themselves as well. But I was looking for one card to shave. I think the 4th copy of Nissa was it for this deck. And then the mana base is 21 lands, 4 Breeding Pool, 4 Hinterland Harbor, 4 islands, because we do have slightly more blue cards than in our previous green-white deck, and then 9 forests, because we do still want to enable Nissa, and we are primarily base green with double green casting costs in the deck. So Simek Ascendancy, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it's going to win any games before we start playing them in the comments below. But we're going to jump right into some gameplay with the deck. Okay, let's get straight into a game with Simek Ascendancy. So this hand's interesting in that we have a Chamber Sentry, 2 Pollenbright Druids. We do have the Ascendancy, but we don't have any blue mana yet. I think we'll keep it though. We have islands, breeding pools, hinterland harbors, Jiang Yanggus to draw. We're definitely drawing live. And if not, we can just make a reasonably large Chamber Sentry and just start turning it sideways. Not the most exciting, but well, Nissa would be good eventually. We're going to put a counter on the Druid itself. And then we're definitely attacking. Presumably opponent takes. Yep. So our creatures grow to 3/3s. They're both outsizing the zombie army still. Opponent is green-white. They play Huatli's Raptor, I'm just lying. Because they get to end up proliferating effectively twice before the end of the turn onto the 1/1 to make it able to block, or at least trade with my 3/3s. But let's see what happens. Merfolk Branchwalkers hopefully draws a land, to be honest. Nissa goes in the bin. Maybe opponent wants lands. There's another Ascendancy, the saddest Ascendancy. So our options here, we can play Pollenbright Druid and Proliferate, which doesn't actually really achieve anything. Or we can just put a counter on it and grow it again. I suppose at some point we're going to have to trade one of our creatures for this Branchwalker, right? In which case we should just attack with both. Thinking logically about it. Because we don't have any way to kind of outgrow the extra point of power on this Branchwalker. So the trade's always going to happen. And we don't have the mana to like shoot it down with the Chamber Sentry. Druid of the Cowl is fine. Yeah, opponent has no lands like we suspected. We do draw a land. Ooh, we do draw a land indeed. Well, we just play an Ascendancy. Are we attacking? If we attack with Pollenbright, opponent can trade it with Druid. I don't think we attack. As much as I want to eat their mana creature, I also want to start ticking up Ascendancy, because that's where the real fun is, right? Hopefully we draw a land so we can play Sharktocrab. Yep. Jiang Yanggu, oh dear. We probably have to attack into Jiang to pressure him. Which is, like, fine. Ugin's Conjurant's acceptable. Yeah, we send both. Opponent gets the opportunity to trade 4/4 for 4/4, or they can double block the 5/5. In which case we'll probably just eat the Llanowar Elf over the 4/4. Will we? That's a lie. We'll eat the 4/4. Oh, actually. Oh, yeah, this is fine. What's happening? I'm trying to let it do this. Yeah. Cool, so Jiang went down. So maybe we should have killed the elf because the zombie wasn't ramping, but I think this is still fine. We're going to put Conjurant in with 3 counters, which puts Ascendancy straight to 5, then it goes up to 7. That's opponent's turn. Hopefully opponent's not playing anything like a one-of Vivian Reed to just snipe our Ascendancy. Wild Growth Walker, have you got an Explorer to follow up? You've already played a Branchwalker this game. Currently opponent's struggling to really get counters going. Another Jiang. So we're going to run the same plan back, send both after Jiang, get him dead. Ooh, and we draw the mana for Sharktocrab. Well, that's good. Both at Pollenbright. Opponent probably blocks, well, if opponent blocks, they block Ugin's Conjurant, I assume. But they just don't block, which is fair. Jiang down. Then we'll make a Sharktocrab. And then we'll pass Ascendancy ticks to 9. And then we just have Sharktocrab value if nothing bad happens to our shark. I'd like nothing bad to happen to Sharky. Squishy Sharktocrab. May nothing bad ever befall it, I suppose. Could be a lady Sharktocrab. I'd be angry too if my eyes were that far apart. It'll be a real struggle to get whatever you've captured in your tentacles into your mouth. Nissa plus, sure. This is fine. We're going to probably... What are we doing? Well, we're gonna... Ooh, Jiang Yanggu. That's pretty busto, right? Guess it doesn't make a difference. Still is... Oh no, it's not as busted as just... Oh yeah, it's fine. So we'll put a counter on Sharktocrab. Sure, whatever. Stack it this way. We'll tap Wildgrowth Walker. We'll go to combat. So the opponent does have a reasonably sized board. But we are going to lock down something else as well end of turn. So we'll send everything at Nissa to get Nissa off the table. Ascendancy's going to 13 this turn. So Nissa down. End of turn. Counters happen. I do Sharktocrab first because I'm lazy. We could tap the forest. We take one more... No, come back, opponent. I wanted to ascend. So Sharktocrab gets there in game 1 with Simek Ascendancy. Okay, so we're back for another game. Once again, we do have Simek Ascendancy in our opening hand. This time we actually have reasonable mana from the get-go. We have some 2-drops. We have a Jiang. I don't think we can mulligan this, so we're going to play. We're on the draw. If we hit a 1-drop, that would be swell. Kumena's Speaker. Is this Merfolk? That'd be kind of sweet. Ooh, Pollenbright Druid was a reasonable draw. Land go. And by land go, I mean land go zombie. Brrr. That's the thing about the Eternals. They don't look particularly brain hungry, they just want your spark. Skydiver. Ooh. Counter on itself. Okay, yeah. Cool. Well, we're actually taking a fair amount here. Do we want to block this 1-1? Well, opponents... If we play Growth Chamber Guardian, we get a zombie. Because I don't think we're playing Skydiver or Druid. So I guess this is a profitable trade for us. Because it stops opponent getting 2 counters end of turn. So then, what are we doing here? Although if we do play a Pollenbright Druid, we have a 3-3. That taps for mana when we play Jiang. But we'll only have 1 creature when we play Jiang. Oh no, we won't. We'll have a zombie. Not if we play Pollenbright Druid, we won't. So in that case, what we want to do is play Growth Chamber Guardian. Because next turn, if we play Jiang Yanggu, and then put a counter on the Growth Chamber Guardian, we'll already have a zombie. Which also is a mana dork. With Jiang. Yeah. Cool. Simic Gilgate from our opponent. This flyer is going to become a problem. But hopefully we can Sharktocrab it before it's a real issue. Curious Obsession's kinda gross. Glad opponent didn't attack with the 2-2 because we'd have to take it. Okay, so we need Sharktocrab online as soon as possible. There's another one. So the only thing about this is the opponent does get to kill Jiang Yanggu. I guess we can play Merfolk Skydiver as a blocker to just like chump this. I think that's the strategy. We're going to put a counter on Growth Chamber. We're going to get one. Here's one. Then we're going to play Merfolk Skydiver. Yeah, this is fine, actually. Because, like I said, this is probably going to chump block. We're going to just put the counter somewhere else. We'll put it on the zombie. Because then the zombie outsizes the speaker from when it untaps. And then we'll draw another Growth Chamber. And then next turn, we can play out Sharktocrab, put a counter on Sharktocrab, keep 2 things frozen. As long as the River Sneak's fine. That does need to be frozen, though. It does need to be put on ice. Then once we've stabilized, maybe we play out Ascendancy and try and go from there. Because as long as we can protect Jiang, Sharktocrab just gets 2 activations a turn, which is kind of nutty, to be honest. Absolutely absurd. I imagine Skydiver comes in, we're 100% to chump. We've kind of shown opponent that anyway. Doesn't come at Jiang, though. Opponent just wants me dead. which is fair. If opponent's coming at me, do I even jump with Skydiver? We're putting a counter on Sharktocrab, so should we just save 5 life? Probably, right? Although, yeah, probably. We'll just save ourselves 5 life. What's opponent's follow-up? Hopefully it's not a River Herald. Well, River Herald's boon here would be fine, actually. Interesting. Let's see what happens. Battling blue-green Merfolk. Silver Galadad's pretty okay. Ooh, they've got a Mistcloaked Herald. Alright then, so... Ooh. That's pretty good. It does tap us out if we do that, though. So maybe that's not so good. Oh no, we haven't untapped Sharktocrab. Here, this is fine. So we'll play an island. We'll run out... Big Daddy Shark. We'll play Ascendancy. We'll minus Jiang on Crabbo. Whatever way around you want. We'll tap Skydiver. Sure. Do some triggers. We're going to tap the River Sneak. We are going to get another Guardian. Remind me to decline those in the future. And we're going to Simic Ascendancy up to 4 counters. Which is pretty tasty. Only 80% to go. I would like to get an Ascendancy win, but I think if our opponent keeps playing scary unblockables, we could have a problem. But I guess we have a second Sharktocrab coming next turn. So that's 4 freezes a turn between Jiang, Yanggu and Sharktocrabs. So Obsession on the Herald, sure. Oh, no, it's not 4 freezes a turn. Although it's a couple of freezes. Oh. So opponents sacrifice their obsessions. That's more freezes. That's good for us. Okay, so we're going to play another Sharktocrab. I guess Ascendancy activations make more freezes. I'm going to put a counter on this Sharktocrab. Going to get my triggers. So we don't want Skydiver to untap. Number 1. And then we're going to freeze Herald and Sneak. And apparently has 4 powers worth of blockers. Do we want to play something else instead, though? Good question. Could just play a Pollenbright Druid and proliferate, and then just get in with Sharktocrabs. I want to win off Ascendancy, but I'm not that greedy. Proliferate. Shark people. So 1 shark on Herald, 1 shark on Sneak. And opponent explodes. Sharktocrab OP. So I hope you enjoyed the games of Simek Ascendancy. It seemed to be more Sharktocrab.deck, but I'll certainly take that. Sharktocrab is the goodest shark octopus crab you ever did see. Did you enjoy the video? Let me know in the comments below. If you think anything could be improved, let me know as well. If you enjoyed my content, you want to see more, please consider subscribing. Otherwise, if you want to catch me playing any of the decks you've seen in the videos live, you might be able to do so if you have a look at my Twitch channel, which is linked in the description below, twitch.tv/MazeMTG. But otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are, and I'll see you all soon.